Open any map and you will clearly see where any country border is. Look at Africa for example. There are 54 countries in Africa, each with their own clearly defined borders. This is true for any country on earth once they are not being invaded. Some of these borders are so clearly defined that there is a line on the ground showing where they start and end. But here's a problem. What if your country is near an ocean? Does your border end at the shoreline? Clearly not. So then how far out does it go? In times past, the answer to that question would have been pretty simple. If you had a ship to defend the waters, any amount of ocean is yours. But we live in the 21st century now, so that wouldn't work. So in order to solve this problem, United Nations came together to find a solution. This is what they came up with. A country does has rights to its own waters, but it's only to a limited extent. Countries are only allowed to claim 200 nautical miles from their shoreline. Anything past that 200 miles is considered international waters. No one could lay claim to it, but everyone has the right to use it. This agreement is called the Law of the Seas. The countries that sign up to it agree that this should be the law. So what is going on in the North China Sea? And why did China build islands there? Hi guys, Random here. Since 2013, China has been building islands in the North China Sea. Why? Because the international maritime law also applies to islands. That is why the United States can lay claim to oceans some 7,000 miles away from it. Because they own the island of Guam. The law of the sea gives them the right to the waters surrounding it as well as all natural resources within it. So the advantage of owning an island is it expands your borders. China found low-lying reefs and sandbanks and began to fill it up, creating islands in the process and then beginning to build on them. And because of that, they claim the rights to the waters surrounding the islands. Also stating that this has almost a 2,000-year-old precedent. They state that it was discovered by the Han Dynasty in 206 BC. Using that, Yang Hua, a Chinese geographer, in 1947 put 11 strokes on a map through the North China Sea in order to separate Chinese water from everyone else's. Over time it became 9 strokes. Now it's called the 9-dash line. The problem with this is that it overlaps with other countries' sovereign waters: Brunei, Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan, the Philippines. This encroachment naturally sparked tension within the region. To try to fix things, the Philippines brought the matter to an international tribunal in The Hague, resulting in China losing, upholding international law. But that didn't stop China. They just simply continued with the island buildings. And these were not some tropical resorts that they were building. They had military installations on the islands. The countries surrounding the North China Sea wasn't simply going to sit back and watch China do this, because the more islands that they get, the more sovereign waters they can claim. So in response, Vietnam started to build islands of their own. And not seeing these islands as legitimate, the United States got involved by constantly patrolling the waters to strengthen their presence in the region. Because remember, this is international waters, anyone has rights to them, and they send ships as close as possible to the islands. So why bother with this at all? Why risk a war over some sandbanks? To understand it, you need to know how important the North China Sea is. Below the ocean floor, you will find over 11 billion barrels of oil and 193 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. Just this alone is worth trillions of dollars. But added to that is within the waters itself. It is one of the most abundant fisheries on earth, capable of feeding millions. And then compounding that is above the water. 1/3 of all maritime trade happens there. That is $3 trillion passing through there every single year. Owning the North China Sea is a lucrative endeavor. But money is not the only reason why China wants it. Half of China's oil and gas comes from Middle Eastern countries, and they are all shipped to China. And all exports that goes from sea passes through there. So if a war happens and a blockade occurs, it will cripple China's economy. Their strategy for dealing with all of this is simply to lay claim to the entire ocean. What is the best ways for the other countries to deal with this? If they decide to attack, they will find that it's pretty easy to take these islands. Because these islands has 4 weaknesses. The first is the distance they are from the mainland. They will not be able to receive support quickly. China's J-16 fighter jets cannot patrol the area because of refueling issues. The best option is to reach by ship, but their fastest ship will take 20 hours to get there. Second, the islands themselves are pretty small, so sustaining an infantry force is difficult. Third, most of these islands have a single runway. That creates a natural choke point and vulnerabilities. Lastly, the islands could be attacked from any angle. But the countries will not do that, and neither is China worried about this outcome. China already claimed these islands as theirs, so if these islands are attacked, it's the same as attacking mainland China, risking a war in the process. But that doesn't mean all hope is lost. You see, China isn't known for building things to the highest quality. Couple that with the fact that the North China Sea receives 17 typhoons a year from April to November. That is over 2 a month. And these poorly made structures may not hold up. And if China tries to repair it, there's only so much that can be done. Because for how long will you be able to fight nature? But the best defense that these countries have is to build islands for themselves, thus limiting what China could actually take. And Vietnam did that. They completed 10 islands. And how they went about it was strategically better than China. They stated that they wanted their islands to be purely for economical purposes. So they installed solar panels as well as trying to grow crops on the islands. And some people even live there. So now if China tries to claim these islands, they will be the aggressor. And wrong if a war starts. And no doubt, when China is not looking, one out of two things will happen. The sea will reclaim its land, or the countries around them will do so. With the abundance of strategic value that the North China Sea holds, the tension within the region is not going to settle anytime soon. So for now, we just need to wait and see what happens next. Thanks for watching.